Hello guys, it's the end of the week. It's Friday, December 4, 2020, and you're watching me, Nikki, you also known as Faces Trader for the Philippine Market Update. Let's begin. Okay, so let's take a look at the market. You could start off with the index. You've got down 60.7134. A lot of shares are down today. Market value is 8.1 billion. And the market continues to sell a little bit, although you could see that the losers are and gainers are quite a match. You've got 121 advancers and 103 decliners. Take a look at the gainers. Let's read the index movers. Okay. So Ayala Land is teetering at 40 bucks just there. BDO is 108, so it did climb again, even but as usual, because it's nearing 110, 115, you've got those resistances. Your Robinson's Land is very strong, 3%, trading at 19.16. However, this is still a laggard move, can go higher to 20 or higher. Ayala Corp 864 can go higher, but you've got that 900 peso mark as a resistance, or even 880. So very little to chase at this point. Security Bank 134, also very little to chase at this point. BDO and GT Cap, okay, so your GT Cap is 649, 650 area. You've got, so currently the market has a lot of nearby resistances just in case. Jollibee 206, this one is still high, can go 5% higher, can go 220 to 230. So this one can still be wait and see. MPI 455, the very first break above 450, so that's a good thing. However, I don't know if it's gonna go 5, so steady lang yan. Mega World is breaking 4, so very first time that it actually closed above 4. But still, it's kind of like teetering because all of your properties, Ayala Land, Mega World, all of these are nearing resistances. DMC closing in near $6, so still though there's that resistance. BPI 84 managed to climb up, but you could see that there's a lot of resistances for BPI at 88 above. What else? Metro Bank 51, steady lang. So you could see that the market is just trying to climb, but only 1%, 1%. And if it's falling, 1% too. So it's just nearing that neutral zone again. SM Prime is down to 38. Your SM is 1,026. Some resistances on your SMs. Take note on your index, your stats. Stats-wise, okay, let's take a look at stats. The largest volume of the day is value traded, this one, Frutas, 166, back to IPO price. However, you'll notice that 166, 168, it's nearing that resistance already. The other big volume is Robinson's Land, 240 million. So it seems as if the Vulcan and the Vitas didn't follow through even after 40 million pesos last night. Let's take a look at worst losers. So what happened in the worst losers? Your ATN BSC, okay, down. What else? What's the biggest loser? Your SM Prime, 400 million down. URC, 143. JG Summit, 70. The rest, APX, 185. PXP, down to 1356. SM, 300 million. So it was really not, yeah, mostly a lackluster day, I'd say. Most actively traded, you've got, let's see, just the same. Some of the names go up and then 1 peso up, 1 peso up. Some, yeah, it's 1%, 2%, not a huge volatility. Top traded 1%, dito 692, just that 7 peso mark. So you could see that the market is still in that zone of nowhere, except for the fact that Jollibee had a good news yesterday about the break of 200. We could see that the break of 200 was related to the multiple delivery options. But other than that, I don't see a very, very strong move. This one is still strong, I'd say 19. But you have these resistances, 20 and 21. So just a laggard move. I guess Mega World moving at $4 is an interesting thing as well. However, can it really break above 4 and sustain that? You've got these resistances, 4.3, 4.4. So I'm more on the mixed side here. Let's see. Let me check your questions, if any, and let's read some. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Robinson's Land and ASEN? Looks like Robinson's Land and ASEN are okay, but between the two, ASEN seems to be consolidating at about 6 peso mark. It seems to be already there. So I'm not sure if it's gonna continue higher. Momentum for ASEN seems to be dwindling down. Hi, Ma'am Nikki. Pabio naman po ng green. Salamat. Okay, let's take a look at green. Green. Search green. Green seems to have risen already from 1 to 260. So it's now trading at 256, just there. I don't think that there is a strong resistance. However, it's already too high if you are chasing, no? So it has moved already from about 60 cents to 260 to 270. There's not a clear resistance. It could be 270 resistance, but the fact that it went a long-term uptrend tells you that there's still plenty of supports where I wouldn't enter this name given extended already. So even if it can go to 280 or 290, at this point, only the people who got in early are probably deserving to make the money. So there are times that it can go to $3, but it can also go to 240. At these levels, you're not in the best zone to enter, but it's also not a sure resistance. It can still go higher. Uptrend is still there. So I think like it's at a point wherein you hold if you have it low, but if you don't have it, you cannot touch it. Hi, Miss Nikki. Do you think the banking sector will rise once the reopening theme is over? Usually the banking sector is a laggard play. So given that it has rallied, resistances are nearby. A lot of people might actually take a look at profit-taking the banks. Generally speaking, your banks have risen. Your Metro Bank has gone from about 35 areas, about 33, 34 areas here to as high as 51. So you are seeing these people actually take profits. So I'm not sure if this one will be sustained, given that next year, as long as the traditional banks will have their fees, they aren't able to actually prove to the market that those risks are really gone. I'm not sure if the market truly forgot about those risks. So given that this is at 51 level, although it can rise to 59, only the people who already have it low are just holding on. So like they're holding whether it goes to 60. Similarly, the people who got trapped here are likely to also sell. So I am on a mixed mode here. You could either sell some, but wait a little, because if it falls down, you're sure that there will be a buyer at 45. And you're actually unsure whether this one would go higher. It's not easy to actually be aggressive at this point, given that it's nearing resistance. We don't have a clear catalyst to say that it's over, but we don't have a clear catalyst to say that it will continue to run. I think it's in the neutral zone. Fruit is not part of the reopening theme. News is saying that it is opening a branch in Dubai. Yeah, Frutas is not a reopening theme. Frutas had a vote of confidence ever since Jimmy Ting actually bought 30 million shares at 1.68. And so the owner had an incentive to buy all those 30 million shares from the market at about 130. So given that 130 to 168 was 30 cents, they were saving something like 10 million pesos. And the market was, of course, confident that the fact that the supplier of Styro, the supplier of Frutas, was so confident on Frutas management, that actually inspired the buying more than anything. How about Petron? Petron is a laggard, so I'd say that it has a leeway to actually pick up steam next year, given that energy sector as a whole has been a laggard. So this one can still go higher. Ito yung mga one of the few weak names that can continue to go higher. As you know, this one has consolidated for over 7-8 months. So this one was the first start, and then maybe this is a flag so that it can go higher. So Petron and Shell Philippines, the energy sector, in my view, is a laggard that might continue to go higher even after December. Double Dragon is a laggard, so that could actually be a potential mover next year. If it doesn't happen this year, then it's next year. So Double Dragon has been in talks to do the Double Dragon REIT, and so far it has never moved up. Take a look, March, it's gone from 16 all the way to 14 and 15. So if the market sees confidence, this might actually go higher, and that means that Double Dragon is one of the laggards actually in the market. Whether the laggards will rise, I think the theme next year is really a catch-up of the laggards. So it's possible. Properties as a whole could actually catch up. So Robinson's Land can continue to go higher. Support and resistance for MPI. MPI is very stable. So I think you've got actually ngayon 450. It's already, in my view, resistance. But whether it goes higher to $5, possible din naman yun. This is another resistance zone at 5. So right now, it's just in a steady uptrend. Your MPI rallied from 230 all the way to 4 peso, then rallied to 450. Very strong move, but I'm not sure if it can really continue. Right now, the market is, I think, gonna consolidate. What is your opinion with Double Dragon? Already answered that as a laggard. PNB is a laggard of the property and so properties and financials in a way are laggard sectors. So given that they are laggards, most likely next year, Philippines as a whole is a laggard. It's not. You might think about. You might need to rethink yourself. No, there is no such thing as a leader in a Philippine sector. Maybe the only leader is your ASEAN, renewable energy, your Nickel Asia, some of your commodities like Nickel Asia were leaders because, of course, they were benefiting on secular trends like electric vehicle beneficiaries. However, the financials as a whole is dependent on the Philippine economy. So the banks in general, whether it be Metro Bank, BDO, BPI, PNB, East West, all of them are actually dependent and highly correlated to the Philippine economy. So the reason why we think that financials are laggards, they could catch up with the reopening, primarily because they were really badly hit on the pandemic. But getting badly hit in the pandemic and bouncing back next year for reopening is a question mark. How high can it go? Is the current move from about 6,000 to 7,200, has it been overdone? Those are valid questions. So in my view, even if the financials can present some values, they still have to prove upon earnings date that they can actually really rebound, and every bad news was priced in. Because if they aren't if they aren't able to really please the market, you could see that some of the leadership from these banks can actually falter down. Let me show you a few things happening. So BPI has already rallied 50 to 90. Benefit of the doubt, BPI is one of the best companies in the Philippine market in terms of financial sector. But do you really think that it can go to $100 next year? So whether that happens or not, all we know right now is yes, 78 is a support, and it is at the 5-year support. No, even assume that this drop of a March pandemic was an aberration. You could see that BPI was always supported at 78. So you also know that there is a very strong clear resistance over the last 7 years already at 99. So without a really confident, without a confident earnings report that BPI has seen the worst, that the worst is over, I think that it's hard to say that BPI at 84 will really climb to 99. So assuming it doesn't go to 99, is this the current resistance already, 90 pesos? That's also possible. If that is the resistance at 90, is 78 really a support, or is it 70? So you're actually at right now you're in a dilemma. You're not in the oversold zone. So you have to be a little bit careful because you're not oversold. Unlike the other laggers, like example, Petron, okay, you're still too low. Shell Philippines is still too low. So there's no such thing as being perfect. You can't say that perfection was priced in. Okay, sige. All right. Wait up, guys. Wait, let me just finish this na lang so that we can end. I'll end the stream quite fast this day. Also for CPGs, I've held it since the October price. Wonder if it can break the high 50s or 60s next year. So CPG, in my view, is a reopening pick. The thing about these properties is that if the market is confident that the Philippine economy can recover very soon, then of course these properties can actually recover. Whether it takes 6 months or a year, those are the question marks. It's not a question whether it can go 50 or 60. I think that CPG and all of these properties will. However, the bigger question is, are you going to wait 7 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months? Because, asking the right questions about CPG, it's all about whether there's really demand for their properties. Are the sales really still there, and is it picking up? No. So this one has fallen already, 1 peso to 30 cents. You have a lot of resistances here. Yes, 50 cents, 60 cents. So I do think that the people will not actually be so confident that this will rise. But nonetheless, even if they're not sure about the time frame, neither would you see people sell CPG back to 40 cents. Meaning, people would rather hope, even if they don't know if that hope is right or wrong. Tama ba? So I think that's what's happening in the market. Nobody knows how long the recovery is. It could be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. But they will all be waiting on data. So all of these banks, financials and properties as a whole, I think that you would see some people step back a little and actually hold some cash, even if the market can go higher, it's not because they're worried that next year it will fall down. It's not about that. It's about whether we can actually carry ourselves here at about 7,200. For us to go from 7,000 to 8,000, it will take more than a reopening rally theme. You really need to see that the market is truly recovering. And how do you see recovery? Recovery comes from narrowing losses or at the very least increasing sales. So I don't think that the market is really in tune with blockbuster income for next year. But what the market will really need to see is that after falling down 40, 50, 100, from 100 or 1 peso to 40 cents for CPG, what the market wants to ask is, do you have actually adequate cash balance sheet to handle the tide? So that was your 2020. What's your 2021 going to look like? So I think those are the things that are important. There's another question. This will be the last that I'll answer. Is Philippines going to undergo a huge market correction since the rumors are that US economy will crash this coming April 2021? So I think in my view, the risk-reward ratio right now is actually different from the risk-reward ratio last 6 months ago or even last 2 months ago, because actually the Philippines was a laggard. Right now, I do believe that the market is pricing in leadership among laggards, meaning what has fallen last year and what has fallen this year is parang being picked up. Just because it's down 40, 50% or 60%. Airlines fell down 60%, people are picking it up. You can see the rotation to value. This is happening not just in the Philippines, but worldwide. You could see that Delta Airlines abroad, Boeing Airlines going up 20, 30%, even your Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong. So everyone in the world is actually reopening theme. It's not just the Philippines. Now, whether that is going to be true or not, it is the world that will dictate. If the market, which is very bullish on your Moderna vaccine, Pfizer vaccine, and all these reopening themes, if they are right, then of course we will not crash. Or even if we do crash, all of those crashes will be bought. Meaning, example, if we crash next year, somewhere 7,002, we go back to 6,700, there will of course be a buyer. So I think that the huge market correction that you are trying to ask, it is to me a 50-50 zone. To a certain extent, because we're already at 7.2, you might want to take profit because you're not sure whether these properties, despite the valuation, okay, look, the Philippine market, CPG, all of these laggards are valuable. But are they really going to recover? It's a question mark. Just because they're cheap doesn't mean that the market will really buy them unless you could really prove, diba? Kasi, you know, some companies can really recover and rebound. That's why, example, when GT Cap recovered from 400 to 630, you still have to ask yourself, look, it has already recovered 100% from the lows. So how much more? How much more can it recover? Is it supposed to go 1,000 peso? You know, you can't recover that fast unless you saw that the retail sales of the economy is really growing. So at this level, it's different. At 7,000, the obstacle course, the resistances that the market will do is not just going to be technical. There's going to be more than technicals that will, and it's going to be more than hope for us to break that 7.2, for us to go 8,000. So I think like at these levels, when you're doing some risk assessment, it's normal to hold, but it's also normal to take profits. So I think like you have to be about 50-50. Neutral ka dito. Neutral, why? You don't want to sell all your winners because you're not sure it will go down, diba? You have a very low cost. At the second time, if you sell all, how could you enter back if it never corrects? That's also possible. It may not crash, but it may not go up. It may just lead. Look at what happened in your in many leaders. They're just staying there. Your ASEAN is just staying there, 6. Sure, it can go to 5, but yun, it's possible, right? But I don't think that everyone is really confident on just selling everything and going to cash. Because I don't think cash is also an option. You have to be about 50-50 right here. It's overbought. You don't want to be aggressive, but it's also not a place that you sell everything. So there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Ito ma'am, kasi nag-iintay na
Oo nga eh.
Ma'am,